think we just
Hey,
had a
Allie,
couple more
long time no
people
see.
on. Well, here comes Carly. All right, we'll give her a second to hop on.
Okay.
And it's just about 6 o'clock, so I think we're going to get started, you guys. So we have plenty of time to hear from Ronan and have your questions answered by him. So, Angie, do you want to do an intro for us? Can everybody put themselves on mute, please? We're going to have Angie do the intro, and then we'll have Ronan take it away.
Do you want to be muted, Danny?
Everybody is.
Okay.
Mom. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today, Woman Jacoby. Woman was a 4-year starting attachment and a 2-year captain for Wesley University men lacrosse team. He and his wrestling teammates were the Division III national champion in 2018. Currently, he is starting midfield player on the Rutgers lacrosse team, the number 3 team in the country. In addition to lacrosse, Woman's favorite sports are golf and football. His favorite vacation spot in Newport, Rhode Island, and his favorite food is chocolate chip cookies. Please let me welcome Woman.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Thank you for having me. I'm definitely excited to get to talk to you guys a little bit about preparation, both physically and mentally for lacrosse. And, I think it carries over into every sport. I prepare for my events the way, any high level athlete does, just like many of you guys. And hopefully I'm able to share some of my knowledge with you guys, give you guys some tips. And then, I hope that you guys have some tips that I can pick up heading into the season.
Thank you.
We started up next weekend. We start our conference tournament, and then we go into the NCAA tournament, which is obviously, a really exciting time to get to compete for a national championship. And you really can't ask for much more. So why don't we start? Why don't we get maybe a show of hands of how many people are familiar with the game of lacrosse? Yeah, is anyone not familiar? I can only see a couple people here. I can't see everyone. Does anyone want to volunteer to give a quick, maybe introduction about what lacrosse is, and then we can go in a little bit more of the specifics about how I approach my training and stuff like that? Does anyone want to volunteer?
It's me.
Go for it.
Now, lacrosse is a sport. You use a stick with net in it. Yeah, and you scoop the ball, run around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good job. So I guess briefly I'll add on to that. Thank you, Vincent. So I like to think of it as it's sort of like a hybrid between kind of soccer and hockey. It's like hockey in the sense that, you have a stick and it's a little bit of a smaller goal, and it's like soccer in the sense that the field is roughly the same size. It's dynamic. So it's not, start and stop like I'll say football is, where you get to huddle up after every play and talk about what you want to do. It's dynamic, constantly going. And then there's certainly a lot of basketball tendencies that carry over in the way you play defense and certain specifics on offense. But thank you, Vincent. That's a great introduction. And if anyone has more questions on a little bit of the smaller details of lacrosse, I'm more than happy to answer. But maybe you should just ask Vincent. He sort of wrapped it up pretty well. So I guess I'll start, for me, I was talking with Gino Cara, who, I know works with you guys, and I've had the been fortunate enough to know him since I was in I think, Gino, you know how long we've known each other for? I think I was in like 3rd grade.
Yeah, you were about 3rd or 4th grader, man.
Yeah, so well over half my life, and been working with him pretty closely. You know, and he's, you know, he had mentioned you guys are approaching in on your competition, so maybe it's a little bit more like in-season competition, but I definitely want to touch on some of the off-season stuff. So for me, it's all about making sure that, you know, my body's ready to go, and that's why I work with people like Gino to get the speed aspect of the game down. It's you know, as Vincent mentioned, it's a dynamic sport. Lots of running around and making sure that both I'm ready to go from like a cardio level of just being able to play a full game, because, you know, as you know, games, matches, meets, whatever it may be, are physically grueling, and it certainly takes a lot out of you. And if your body's not prepared, you're not going to be able to perform at the bare minimum. So that's really where it starts. And then, you know, fine tuning things from there, whether it be working on explosiveness, fine tuning my speed and footwork. For me, you know, footwork has always been a big area of importance for me, as I've always felt that, you know, I was a little bit, I don't want to say slower than the rest, but had more to work on than the rest. So that's something that's important to me. And then really when I'm in the off season and working on, you know, whatever it may be, I try to break it down into competition like scenarios of, you know, rather than looking at the full picture, breaking it down into small individual parts of the game and really fine tuning those things that I can, you know, just work on and, you know, prepare myself a little bit better for that small, tiny little 1 second instant that's going to happen in a game. It might happen, it might not, but I want to be prepared for it regardless of what happens. So a lot of that comes from just spending time on my own or in small group settings with, you know, my various coaches, trainers, whatever it may be, working on those small, you know, details and fine-tuned moments. You know, I think it translates pretty well into true competition. And one of the things that I try to do a lot with that is visualization, whether it be actually playing or just success. I think that, you know, in order to be successful within competitions, you have to believe that it's something that you're able to do. I don't think, you know, too many great athletes, I'll use, you know, Michael Jordan as an example. I don't think going into you know, an overtime game in an NBA championship, Michael Jordan is worried if he's ready to play in the moment, both mentally, physically, whatever it is. You know, you know, obviously I've never met him, but I've watched The Last Dance, which is his documentary. And he talks a lot about his confidence in the moments. And I think that, you know, to me, it's something important. I think that I get the confidence from putting in, you know, my own work. But truly for me, visualizing the ability to have success, whether it's, you know, in my yard running around thinking, you know, there's 10 seconds left in the game and it's a tie game and I score the game-winning goal, or, you know, just not having the fear of playing in big moments, just thinking about them in my own time has been really helpful for me, and sort of made me, you know, a little bit more relaxed in the big tense moments and not fear them as, you know, well, maybe I haven't physically been there. Mentally, I'd like to think that I have been, just from, you know, visualizing and, you know, in a sense, it's sort of daydreaming almost. You know, I think that it's really helped me, you know, certainly early in my career, and now, you know, having the ability to play at Rutgers, you know, is certainly a little bit more than I ever imagined, but it's the same, you know, rudimentary things that sort of follow through from, you know, middle school, high school, my time at Wesleyan and on. Do you have a question quickly, and then I'll keep going, or do we want to go all questions at the end? I'm open for anything.
Actually, I have a question to ask
Yeah,
you.
go for it.
How long does it take you to prepare for a match before you can actually get into the game?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, that's sort of a complex question. I think that, preparing for the entire aspect of the match is going to take, all year for me, and really to be able to play my best. I think that it's something that I've worked on, for a greater part of a decade, as that's, sort of how long I've been playing lacrosse at at a high level. But then when you look down at, the small nitty gritty things, after, the cardio levels are ready and, my skills are fine tuned, the mental aspect of it, takes about 4 days. We spend a lot of time watching film, and sort of analyzing how, we, are developing our game plan, I'll say, because it is a team sport, and how we want to defend certain players, what type of offenses we want to run, and things like that. And then hopefully, you've put in the groundwork during the couple days leading up to the game, that when it comes, you get to play free. I'm a believer in not overthinking. I think that, when I overthink, I run into barriers. So I would like to think that, when I'm playing, I'm playing free because I've put in the legwork necessary beforehand, to really just perform at my top level, and just not have to think about it.
Have you ever played at my school before? Because I go to Shelton High. I don't know if you play our team there.
So we didn't. I'm from Glastonbury,
Okay.
which is in Connecticut. But we've never played at Shelton. We played Cheshire a lot. I think Cheshire's really close to Shelton, right?
Oh yeah, around that area.
Yeah.
Have you ever played at Dunwood?
No, I haven't played there either. But we've played at some schools around the Connecticut area. But definitely, it's funny looking back on my time getting to play against, so many kids locally, like in high school. And now, I barely know anyone that we play against. As it's, it's kind of cool to see how much lacrosse has grown, even just from the time that I was in high school. Like, we have kids in our team from California and Texas, and Canada, and that wasn't really a thing even that long ago. So just to see how many college teams have kids from different areas is really cool. So yeah, I guess bouncing back a little bit, to my time, I guess at Wesleyan, both as mentioned in the introduction, my freshman year there in 2018, we were fortunate enough to make the national championship game and ultimately win it. And I think it has a lot of translations to our season that, currently is going on here at Rutgers, where, as mentioned, we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of success. We're heading into postseason play as the number 3 team in the country. And I've really, set ourselves up nicely for the NCAA tournament, and hopefully, we can keep that rolling and, hold another trophy up above our heads on Memorial Day weekend, which is when the lacrosse national championship is. But to me, it's sort of 2 things that, are highly important and vital to success. I think that, on one end, it's a close-knit team. And, it was evident both in 2018 at Wesleyan, which was my freshman year, and then this year that everyone is really comfortable with each other. And that sort of blends into players holding each other accountable. Obviously, coaches are there for a reason, but I think that the best teams are to a degree coached from within. Players, it's not always saying that you're wrong or, we need to do this better or that better. There's certainly an element of it. But players almost motivating each other, I think is, really important. And it's what's going to lead you to the important parts of the game, and be able to trust each other in big moments. As it's not always, heck, I could go out and play my best game ever and we could still lose. So I think that, those 2 things sort of really go hand in hand, of, both players holding each other accountable. I think that comes from being, really close with each other. And then being close with each other is going to sort of blend back into players being able to be accountable with each other rather than always coming from, the coaching staff. I think that, it's really important, and it was certainly evident in our teams at Wesleyan, and really fortunate to see that it's the same here at Rutgers, as it is my first year, and to a degree I'm sort of the new guy still, so it's not like I had anything to do with the team being close. They've just welcomed me in, and sort of continued that culture. I think there's a couple questions in the comments. I'll answer those, and then I'll get to Daniel. Which college is the most challenging to play against? That would definitely be Maryland. We played them, I think 3 weeks ago. Didn't go as planned. We had a tough showing, but we have the chance to play them again next weekend in the Big Ten tournament. And they're certainly, a difficult team to play against. They're sort of what I would call like the gold standard of college lacrosse right now. They routinely, year in, year out, are sort of the top team in the nation that everyone circles. And, what really leads to their success is the tenacity that they play with. And I think it allows them to play really free. And what it really boils down to, in my opinion, is they all have fun every second that they play for 60 minutes. They don't play with fear. They don't play with worry. They just sort of go out and play as free as possible, and it allows them to be quite good. Obviously, there's a base level of skill that's needed to do that, which they most certainly have. But it's definitely the biggest game circled on our calendar year in, year out, and certainly moving forward for the rest of the year. Daniel, you want to ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
My father used to play lacrosse in
Yeah.
Hartford at Trinity College.
No
He
way.
did.
Did he go to Trinity?
How do you feel when you win a game?
Yeah, I mean, to me, after games that we win, it's sort of, why you put in all the work in the off season, and why you go through all the challenging days at practice and do things that you don't want to do on days when you don't feel 100%. And, to me, it's the best feeling in the world. It's so rewarding to know that everything that you've done has paid off. And, it's really, I think it's hard to put into words. Fortunately, I've been a part of a lot of, teams where we've won a lot. So it's sort of expected, which I think is a bit of a dangerous game to play, as it sort of takes away a bit of the passion, every day to play your best. But it really is difficult to put into words, just the pure joy that you feel after, and just the rewarding feeling of everything that you did paying off. And it's going to be, whenever my lacrosse time is done, it's going to be one of the hardest things to not have in my daily life. And it really is why you play. You play. I always think I play lacrosse for two reasons. One, because to me it's the most fun thing that I can ever do in the world, and two, because I just love the ability to compete, and you compete to win. So when you get to win on game day, it's really a surreal feeling, and definitely fortunate that I've had the opportunity to do that quite a bit. There's one more question in the comments. Is it hard to balance schoolwork and lacrosse? Yes. It is difficult. It's something that I've yet to master, something that I think I'm getting better at every day. But who knows? It is really difficult, just from a demanding practice schedule, demanding coursework. It's not at all easy. I think it was a little bit harder in high school than it was in college, just because you have less free time with classes in high school going all day, as opposed to in college, they're sort of scattered throughout the day. But it certainly is difficult. And I think it all comes back to time management, and sort of setting your priorities straight. I think that that's the number one thing. And growing up, my dad was always big on, you have to take care of your academics first, and lacrosse is sort of a privilege. And it was sort of, made very clear to me that academics were the first thing. And I had to take care of that to do anything with lacrosse. And I'd like to think I did a good job. I don't think I ever missed a session with Gino. I've never had to miss a practice for schoolwork. And that's not because I was putting schoolwork off, because I had to do my schoolwork first. And then I got to play lacrosse, which is obviously what I chose to do. Is, it's a passion of mine. Robin, do you want to ask a question?
Sure. It's a comment and a question.
Okay.
So my brother is the head athletic trainer for Sacred Heart University here in Connecticut. Possibly one of your rivals.
Yeah.
And I've actually had to take myself out of a season of soccer this year because of injury. I'm actually having surgery on Monday.
Okay. Good luck.
So my question / comment is, how do you not get to, and I'm in a mood where I'm very discouraged that I can't, go to games, and I can't play right now, obviously, because beforehand I didn't want to hurt myself going into surgery, and I obviously need the time to heal afterwards. How do you mentally prepare yourself? Because as I said, I'm in a bit of a, I wouldn't call it a depression, but in bit of a kind of discouraged mode, because I play the goalie. It's my favorite position in the entire world. And I'm just curious to know how you deal with that.
Yeah. So do you mean mentally prepare myself sort of coming off of an injury, which, unfortunately I've had as well, or just in general from sort of a day to day?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah. So I think, the biggest thing in terms of, coming back from an injury, I'm fortunate enough, knock on wood, I've never had to go through surgeries with them, but I have had to, miss time. And I think that the most important thing that you can do, and in a way it's to help yourself during the whole recovery process, is be the most supportive teammate that you can be. I think that when injuries sort of get to people on an individual level, it's because they sort of isolate themselves from your team, and the team is what, is your network, your sort of shoulder to rest your head on, I think. And you rely on them to pick you up the same way they rely on you to pick them up when they're going through, difficult things, whether it be injury, a bad day, tough situation, whatever it may be. So I think that supporting the team is really important. And knowing that just because you're out and injured doesn't mean you don't have a contributing factor to the team being successful. Obviously, it's not directly playing on the field, but it's the same thing of, supporting, being, the source of energy for the team, bringing lots of excitement, and being another set of eyes on the sidelines. And, I think you mentioned you're a goalie, helping out who's ever playing goalie at the time. I would imagine that you've done it for longer than them if you've been playing for a while and helping.
I've probably been doing it longer than you've been alive. In
Yeah,
fact, I know
exactly.
I have.
Exactly. So coaching them and helping them along in the process, especially if they're new to goalie, just providing your expertise, I think, is really important. And then from a day to day, I think it varies a lot. I think that going into games, it's important to what I mentioned, sort of visualize both individual plays of, for me, in lacrosse, it's certain dodges that I might have. It's stepping into certain gaps off ball that are going to present itself. And then, on sort of a day-to-day going into practice, I think that it's important to have almost a reset, whether your season's going extremely well or extremely poorly. I think it's important to find a common ground of an area that, two ways: one, an area that you can work on, and two, an area that the team can work on. And being able to leave that practice knowing that, okay, I did everything I can to make me better. This one scenario that I want to work on, and everything to make the team better. in this situation, because, you know, no matter what the team is, they're not perfect. You know, even if you're undefeated or one loss, whatever it is, there's areas where you need to improve and the team needs to improve. And I think that being able to identify those and sort of setting an obtainable goal to help that, you know, really is going to make the process of practicing more helpful and rewarding for the team as a whole. And then the last thing that I'll say is being able to go into every practice with a clear mind. I think that it's really easy to let a bad day or a tough mood, whatever the situation may be, affect your practice or even a game. And I think that being able to go in with a clear mind and, you know, understanding that you play, you know, whatever game that you're playing, sport, whatever it is, you're not doing it because someone's making you, you're doing it because you want to have fun and you want to get the most out of it at that moment. And just, you know, I know I'm always playing my best when I'm having fun. So trying to find moments like that is really helpful. And even if, you know, our coach here is a big screamer and likes to get on the line and run sprints, and, you know, I certainly don't like that. But trying to find fun in those moments that is really, you know, not fun is important, you know, whether it be looking at the kid next to you, like cracking a joke, or just finding a way to keep the mood light, I think is really important. So I hope that was able to sort of provide a little bit more clarity. And definitely, you know, if you have any follow-up questions with that, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course. All right, there's one question here in the comments from Nick. And yes, we did play against Simsbury High School when I went to Glastonbury. Simsbury is our biggest rival. We got to play them usually 2 times a year. And I think every year, whoever won the first game won the second game, but definitely our biggest rival. And I had a couple friends at Wesleyan that played on Simsbury, and never let the rivalry go, even though I was buddies with them down the road. Always brought back, you know, my favorite memories of beating Simsbury and his favorite memories of beating Glastonbury. Stephen, do you want to ask a question?
Actually, my name is Allison.
Okay, I thought it wasn't Stephen, but
yeah, it's my dad.
Gotcha, no problem.
This is a 2-part question,
Yeah.
Ronan. First of all, since I'm into athletics with track and field, is there a way to improve my goals without trying to get too crazy?
Yeah.
With what you do.
Yeah, I think that the best thing to do in terms of, you know, in an individual like specialized sport like track and field is, I think it's finding ways to make obtainable goals, because what is your main competition within, you know, is it one event?
Well, I do usually 3 track events.
Okay.
The 800, the 400, and the running long jump.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'll use like the 800 as an example. Obviously, you know, your goal is to do it as fast as possible.
Right.
And, I think that if your goal going into every event is, all right, I want to shave a second off my time, I think that it's a really broad goal and you're just trying to essentially say, I want to be better, which there's nothing wrong with having that long-term goal, but finding a way to break it down into small pieces. So, you know, maybe you can focus on the first, you know, 10 meters of it and say, I want to improve my start time and work on those first 10 seconds and shave, you know,
a
quarter of a second off of that time, which is obviously going to lend itself into the full 100 meters. I think that being able to break down your goals and sort of have small little accomplishments along the way is really going to help you. And, you know, I started to do this in lacrosse because my mom made me do it with like my homework in middle school. No one in middle school wants to do their schoolwork. And my mom would, like, you know, if I finished half my math homework, I would get to have like, I don't know, 5 goldfish or something, like treating me like a dog almost. That's sort of where I started it of, you know, I don't want to look at this math packet and say I need to do all of it. I'm going to chunk it up and sort of get through little pieces at a time. And once I get through that first piece, I'm going to feel good and I'm going to feel motivated to go and attack the next piece. And it's the same with, any sporting event. You can break it down into sort of bite-sized chunks. So if you say, all right, I'm going to improve my first 10 meters today or this week, that's what I'm going to focus on. And, once you're able to check that off, you're going to be rewarded. You're going to be happy. And then you're going to, be motivated to look back and say, okay, now I still have a whole lot more of the race that I need to perfect. Now I'm going to focus on, being able to keep my stamina going into the last third of the race, whatever it may be. And just sort of, digesting it down into smaller parts, I think could be really helpful. And I think that it's applicable in anything, whether it's, track, which is a little bit harder to break down as it's only one, I'll say, movement. It's the same in soccer. If you want to get better, well, you can get better ball handling skills. You can get better, defending skills. I think it's really similar in that sense.
And my other question is, how did your lacrosse affect with the pandemic going through all this time?
Yeah. So it was a really interesting time. COVID happened halfway through my junior season at Wesleyan. So that season was canceled. We were all sent home, and it was really difficult, obviously, to not be able to do something that has almost become routine in my life. And also, it's hard to not feel a little bit sorry for yourself when something like that happens. And additionally, for the seniors that were on the team then to have, their careers end, before they were, not that you're ever ready to, but before you thought it was going to happen, was definitely difficult to see them go through. And sort of, I know for me and a lot of the kids that were in my grade at the time, the one thing that we sort of had to look forward to was our senior season. Like, yes, our junior season unfortunately had to be canceled, but at least we have next year, and we're going to, we're this much more motivated to put our best foot forward for our senior season. And then, unfortunately, we didn't have that season either. Well, we did. It was a shortened season. We played 5 games, but, it was still really difficult. So it obviously, wasn't the best of times as we were going through it. But it's provided me the opportunity to play here at Rutgers, as the NCAA gave us a year of our eligibility back, which is, what's allowed. So while it definitely wasn't easy, in the long run, it's been, in a way, the best thing that's ever happened to me to have the opportunity to come here, get another degree academically, meet, some amazing people that I've met here that are some of my best friends, and really compete at the biggest stage that there is in lacrosse, is something that's unbelievable. And I definitely, wouldn't have had the opportunity to do without COVID. So, as difficult as it was, and as I'll say sorry for myself as I felt at times, it's definitely paid off in the end. Daniel, I'm going to get to you, but I'm going to see what Aaron's question is, because he hasn't asked one yet, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, it's okay.
Amazing, Ronan. Good luck with that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, I got maybe like 2 questions though. What was your best score on the lacrosse? And the other thing I want to see if we can have a Special Olympics to do like lacrosse too, because I think that would be a great thing to have, but we need to see if we can try to get some teams going and everything else.
Yeah. So I'll hit on that first, and then we'll go back to the other one.
Okay.
100%. That would be so cool. I think that, as I briefly mentioned, to see the sport grow so much, even since when I started, has been really rewarding. And it's something that I want to continue to see and put my best foot forward in helping that. So I love when new people start to play lacrosse for the first time. I think that, maybe it's a selfish thing, but I want to see people play the game that has made me, happy for so many years. So, whatever facet I can help out in, I'm more than happy to. And yeah, definitely. And what was your first question? I forgot about it.
Did you guys win any score points when you guys did lacrosse? What was the highest score you guys got up to, like between
Mari tap.
Yeah,
the last ending of the game when you guys played?
Yeah, so I think the most goals that we scored in a game this year was 23, which is a lot. But our most recent game was one of the most exciting games of my life. I think the final score is either 15-14 or 14-13. We were playing Penn State this past weekend, and we were down 3 goals with like 4 minutes left, and we were able to storm back. Another one of my teammates scored a game-tying goal with 7 seconds left, and then he scored a game-winning goal as well in overtime, which goes up there with some of my best lacrosse memories. It's always fun to put up a lot of goals because I'm an offensive player, which usually means I get to have a couple. But the close games are what you live for, and the ones that make you a little nervous, make you a little worried, and always have the most intensity and are the most rewarding at the end, as your adrenaline spiking and the crowd gets into the game. So those are the ones that are always the most fun to play in.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right, Brittany, you want to go?
Brittany, I think you're on mute. Go ahead and take yourself off mute there.
Yeah, she's on mute.
Yeah, she's mute.
Can you take yourself out? There she goes.
There we go.
Great.
Still
Hi.
Not working.
Brittany, go ahead with your question.
Mute me.
What did the pandemic actually really affect your lacrosse games? I mean, your tournament.
Yeah, so I think you asked, did the pandemic affect our tournament, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my junior year, they didn't end up having an NCAA tournament as the season was canceled roughly halfway through it. And then it still affected us last year. They still had an NCAA tournament, but our conference was the ones, I guess I'll say, dictating the amount of games that we were allowed to play. And they shortened our season to sort of keep player safety in mind. So we didn't play enough games to be eligible for the NCAA tournament last year. So unfortunately we didn't get to be a part of it. But it is what it is. And it's now back to the way that it used to be. So as much as it stinks to not be the last 2 years, makes us that much more excited and hungry to have the opportunity to do it this year. So definitely, excited to move forward as it's starting up pretty soon. Daniel, you want to go with your question now? I know you've been waiting for a while.
How do you feel about the game? Did you feel great? Teamwork?
Yeah, the game that we just had?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I don't think as a team we played our best game. We got to, we won at the end, which is always what you go into the game, trying to do. And we did it in an exciting fashion, which definitely adds to it a little bit. But we definitely didn't play our best game, sort of disconnected as a unit offensively. We weren't really playing together quite as well as we could have, and had a couple mental lapses on defense, just, sort of plays that we don't tend to make that we did for, who knows what reason. So, I think that looking back on it, it's fortunate enough to, I feel fortunate that we were able to sometimes play games that we didn't play our best and still be able to come out on top. And also knowing the areas that we can improve upon moving into next week, and sort of lighting that fire under us to get excited and motivated is certainly something that, is really nice to have while still winning. Often those things, you always hear the phrase, you learn more from a loss than you do a win. But chances that you get to learn from a win are certainly exciting, and grateful for those opportunities, especially late in the season, as learning opportunities are sort of tough to come by.
And what about teamwork? Teamwork is really important to us now.
Yeah, I think to me it's what really sets good teams apart from great teams. I don't know how much you guys follow the NBA, but you look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets, where they have all the superstars and the players, and on paper they should be a great team because they have some of the best players in the NBA right now, but they don't play well together as a team, and it's why they lost in the first round. And I think
that's give the Boston Celtics, because I'm into the NBA, March Madness, the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so that's really where teamwork sets teams apart, and it's something that we try to work on a lot here at Rutgers with the team this year. But to me, it's hard to. It's not something you can force. It's something that comes natural and comes from I think being a close knit team and really trusting each other that everyone's going to make the right play in the right moment. Is what's going to lead to success, and your team working cohesively as a unit. So it's exciting to see, and certainly one of the mainstays in all great teams. They all have great teamwork. That's why the start of the word teamwork is team, because it's the team.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. There's another question in the comments that I'll quickly answer. So who do I look up to? And if I could meet anyone, who would it be? That's difficult. I know growing up in lacrosse, my idol was this kid named Billy Bitter, who I would bet no one knows. I don't
know who he is.
Yeah, I don't even know what he does anymore. But when I was really young in like 5th and 6th grade, he was like one of the best college lacrosse players, and he was sort of who I always aspired to be. But that's really all that I've had in the lacrosse world. I know that in day-to-day life, the two people that I've always looked up to most are my dad and my grandfather on my dad's side. I think it's partly because I see a lot of similarities in myself to them, both good and bad. There's certain similarities that I have with my dad that I wish I didn't, but that's just because I like to give him a hard time. But they're who I always look up to. I always go to them for advice that I need. That's who I always strive to be. And, obviously, fortunate enough to have a great relationship with my grandfather, who was instrumental in my childhood. And if I could meet anyone, who would it be? I think if I'm going to go with a living person, I'm going to have to say Michael Jordan, because I think that having the opportunity to hear him talk about competition and the way that he prepares for games, and in a way, like the personal vendettas almost that you would hear he had for whoever was, guarding him in the game, I think is amazing. And it's something that I want to learn more about. And I would just love to hear him talk about it. And then maybe I'll say someone away from sports that I would like to meet. Maybe I've been reading a book where Isaac Newton is talked about a lot. It talks about him developing like his, how he developed the theory of gravity. So maybe it'd be cool to talk to him just to hear about how he was able to like develop
What's going on?
that's crazy at the time, and just sort of maybe hear some of the, I'm sure the backlash that he heard at the time, of, you know, all of these things that he was theorizing would be pretty cool. So I'll go with Isaac Newton on the other end of someone who, you know, obviously isn't with us anymore.
Hey, Rowan, to answer your question
Yes.
via Google, Billy Bitter is now the head coach for the men's lacrosse team for Boston College.
There you go.
There you go.
This is my
Now
question.
you know.
But funny.
Have you traveled out of state to play lacrosse anywhere?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, we would play a couple teams from Massachusetts and New York every year. And then obviously at Wesleyan, we played a lot of different teams from around the Northeast. We played teams from Massachusetts, Maine, New York, New Jersey, Virginia. And here at Rutgers, you know, we play teams all over the country. We play Ohio State, Maryland, Michigan, a bunch of teams in Long Island, bunch of teams in New York. So yeah, we play teams all over. They tend to typically be from the Northeast, but definitely play teams that are a little bit further away, like Michigan and Ohio State.
What about Florida?
I've never played any teams from Florida, although this one like bracket that came out, like a mock bracket almost of the NCAA tournament, had us playing Jacksonville in the first round, who's from Florida, and they have a really good team this year. So maybe we'll play a team from Florida, but I haven't yet.
Okay.
I see some other hands up. I see Albert and Stanley and
Oh, sorry,
Ryan.
they're off my screen. So
Are they?
yeah, who wants to go first?
Hands. Why don't you go, Albert? Albert, I think you're on mute. Could you unmute yourself?
You have a question? I'm trying.
There's a question in the chat box.
Yes, Rutgers is in New Jersey.
All right, how about you, Ryan, while Albert's going off mute? Why don't you ask your question, Ryan?
Okay, my question is, Ronan, my question to you is on defending. Are you familiar with showing empathy for your team player?
Are you talking about teams that we're playing against?
Yes.
I mean, against or other in general.
Yeah, so in the spirit of competition, sometimes it's difficult to show empathy. It's definitely gets a little tense in moments. Certainly, you know, lacrosse is, you know, I guess let's say a violent game, hitting's involved. And sometimes people don't take too kindly to that. And I know, you know, when I'm in those scenarios, I don't either. But at the end of the game, it's usually all resolved. And, you know, able to show some empathy there. But in game, it's certainly a little bit more difficult, as, you know, spirits are high and you know, adrenaline's pumping. It's hard to feel sympathetic for the opposing team at times. But I do my best, and I'd like to think I've gotten a little bit better at it as I've matured a little bit.
Come on, Molly.
But certainly got ways to go.
Come on, Molly.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm learning something new.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, Al, looks like you're off mute.
Hey, Roland,
Yeah.
when you are finished with your college career, would you like to work for us at Connecticut Special Olympics, maybe teaching look what you do in your sport, lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, I've always my whole life I've been involved in coaching, and it's something that I 100% plan to continue to do. And you know, if there's any opportunities with it moving forward, I'd love to. You know, my dad is a coach in the you know, central Connecticut area. You know, and he as well has always found you know, a great deal of passion in introducing, you know, people to the game of lacrosse and exposing the sport to new individuals. As obviously it's a passion of ours. So I'm definitely more than happy and want to help out, grow the game in any facet that I can. And would love to help you guys out. And if it's okay, maybe I'll drag my dad along. It'd be something kind of cool for both of
Yeah,
us to do.
see, I'm on point.
There you go.
And we're recording this, so we have Ronan saying that.
Yeah, hold it against me. Hold me to it, whatever you want to say.
Okay, thanks.
Gino, you have a question.
Yeah. Hey, Ronan, I know you mentioned, by the way, we'll get you to do some, you and your dad to get to do maybe some clinics for
right.
Olympic athletes for lacrosse. That'd be great. But I know you mentioned Final Four, NCAA Four possibility. That's at Rensselaer Field, right, in East Hartford?
This year it is, yep.
Yeah, so I want to let you, all of you know that if Rutgers makes it to the Final Four in the tournament, it's going to be in East Hartford at Rensselaer Field. So you can actually go to the tournament if we root for Ronan to see if they can advance to the Final Four.
Yeah. But you're gonna, if we make it, you all have to wear Rutgers shirts. It's a mandatory. Not allowed to wear. Any other teams have to be wearing red there. So quickly before I get to more questions, Pino just brought up like a good point. You know, obviously the Final Four is something that we strive to do, and touched briefly of playing in big moments. And fortunately enough for myself, I've had the opportunity to do so. And, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't share sort of how, you know, I go about it. And I think that when you're playing in, you know, big moments, huge competitions, whatever it may be, I think that before the game, it's important to appreciate the opportunity that you have. So I know, like, whenever there's a big crowd at our games, you know, after the national anthem, you know, maybe a minute or two before the game starts, I always like to like look in the crowd and take like a deep breath. And it's not meant to be daunting. It's meant to just, you know, appreciate the moment. Is, you know, you don't know when you're going to have an opportunity like that to come again. And it's something that, you know, I don't want to forget. You know, the amazing opportunities that I've had through the game of lacrosse are something that I want to carry with me my entire life. And, you know, I feel if I try to pretend the crowd isn't there, then, you know, down the road, I'm going to regret that I didn't, you know, soak in all those moments. So I always like to take a deep breath and find a way to pretend that it's a small crowd if there are a lot of people there, and just, you know, A, appreciate the moment, and then B, you know, kind of try to find a way to take some of the pressure off. And, you know, I always like to, you know, turn to a teammate of mine and, you know, maybe make a little joke, just lighten the mood a little bit right before the game starts. And I know our offensive coach is really big on that. It was, we were playing at Stony Brook, and it was a 1-goal game with like a minute left. And we were up 1, obviously. It's pretty high, and everyone's kind of a little bit worried. And like in the huddle, instead of like drawing anything up, he had the freshman like tell us like a riddle, which is funny, just to sort of, you know, not distract you from the moment, but just ease the tension a bit. You never want to play tense. If you're, you know, we have a stick in our hands. If you're, you know, we always say, like, if you're holding the stick too tight, nothing's going to go your way. And just, you know, hold your stick loose and believe in what you've done is going to prepare you for the moment. And it's why you know, prepare and spend so much time out on the practice field and, you know, preparing for those small moments like that. Does anyone else have a question?
Looks like Stanley's had his hand up there. Right,
All right.
Stanley?
Let's go for it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you at some games do the Special Olympics?
Do I what? Can you cut out for a second?
At some games, did you have a some games in the Special Olympics?
Did you say, do I have a favorite game in the Special Olympics?
Yeah.
I do not have a favorite one, as I don't think lacrosse or football are played. But I am a fan of any team sports. I like to see, it's partly because it's what I've always done. But I always, find it enjoyable to watch teams, both struggle to play together and do so successfully. And, I always just enjoy to see, different pieces of the team flowing together and really, meshing and operating, to the best of their ability. And I always think it's cool when, you have teams where maybe they don't have the most talented players, but they're maybe a better cohesive group as a team and they're able to win games. It's my favorite thing to watch, where just superior teamwork and chemistry is able to overcome just pure skill. I always think it's really exciting. So I'll go with any team sport, nothing against the individual ones, but sometimes I tend to struggle in individual sports. So I'm going to have to side with the team sports there.
Oh, okay.
You play any
Thank
other
you.
sports or do any other hobbies besides lacrosse?
I don't. The two things that I don't play any other sports right now, but my two biggest hobbies are golf and Uno. Me and my friends
Oh, Uno, that's a good one.
play Uno like 3 times a week, and it's a blast. It's so much fun. I played a lot growing up, didn't play a lot in like high school and my time at Wesleyan. And I don't know why we got back into it, but it is so much fun. We look forward to it. We get in little fights about it, and it's a blast.
That's good. Nice.
All right, you guys. Well, we're coming up. We just have a couple of minutes. Is there anybody that didn't ask a question that would like to? Mary Beth?
Yeah, it's a question about this. Where do you play bocce and swimming and tennis?
Do I play any of those?
Yes.
So, all right, I'm going to start with swimming. I used to swim. I'm very proud of how good I was at swimming in middle school. If you ask any of my friends, I've let them know that I came in second in the state in backstroke, even though it wasn't the whole state. It was just like 2 towns, but I tell them it's the state. And then tennis, I am really bad at tennis. I think I'm a lot better than I am. And whenever I play against my friends, I talk a great deal of trash before the game that I'm going to beat them. And I've yet to beat any of my friends who have played tennis before. But I go in with blind confidence every time. So definitely do my fair share of those. And it's not pretty to watch, but I try.
I will ask you a question. Every do the 4 hockey of press for the Hamden, Connecticut?
Was it field hockey or floor hockey?
4 hockey.
Gotcha.
And we think you watch the money for the 4 hockey the silver night.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thanks, Mary Beth. Well, I
You
think
like
we're
it,
we're just about coming up on 7 o'clock. This was awesome. I know I saw Vincent had the little heart reaction on his thing, so I think he was loving this session as well. But how about a big round of applause for Ronan? What a great presentation, and we're so excited to hear about all you've accomplished, and we know that you are going to accomplish so much more. Good job.
I certainly appreciate you guys all listening to me ramble and asking some great questions. And Debbie, thank you for having me. I definitely really appreciate it. And thank you for setting this up. It's been awesome.
Yeah, please come visit us at any summer games.
Yeah.
And let us know about the Final Four, because we'll have a field trip. All the global messengers will take a field trip.
Thank you, Deb. I like
Step
it.
one is getting
Deb,
there.
I was meaning to ask you.
I definitely will.
Deb, I was meaning to ask you, whatever happened to the photos on the SOCT website? I looked at them and then I keep seeing all 50s. What's up with that?
I don't know. We'll have to talk about that separately, Allie.
I do
Okay.
need a favor from you guys. If we do make it to the Final Four and you guys all come, you have to make sure you drag Gino there.
Oh, I'll be there.
Sometimes. He's gotta
Gino
be there.
knows me.
Yeah, like us fam.
I'm messing
Yeah.
with you.
See you next week,
You're
Gino.
invited back. Gino's going to be our
Bye,
guest
Deb.
this week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
That's-
you, Ronan. What a fantastic
Thank you, Ronan.
meeting this was.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. for
See you later, Gino.
Good luck, Gino.
Good luck,
Thank
Ronan.
you. I appreciate it.
Ronan.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon, everybody. Take care. Have a good night.
Debbie.
See ya.